ability to touch and cajole and describe weather in such a unique way.
I work at it. It doesn't come easily. Weather is, of course, incredibly important. I think it was Faulkner who said a person is nothing but the sum of his experiences of weather. Like who are you at your core? It's the weather you remember. And of course, in Faulkner's case, that would have been the hot summers in Mississippi and the gray, drizzly winters. So yeah, if you're trying to create a world as a novelist and you want to put people in the world, you're trying to tap into a shared body of experiences of weather. And the trick is to do it in a way that hasn't been done before, to write a sentence no one has written about the weather before without trying too hard and showing you're trying to write such a sentence. So yeah, I work on that stuff, and I can feel I need a sentence about weather, and it might take me half a day to get a good sentence about weather.
First off, I believe from the corrections in 2001, you wrote, "Fiction is a solution, the best solution to the problem of existential solitude."
Yeah, I said that. It was a bit of a compromised position. Came out of a multi-year, mostly via letter conversation I was having with my friend David Wallace. We were trying to figure out something we could agree on to answer the question, why bother writing? If I were to say that now, I would probably leave out the word existential. There is a magic to the written word, and particularly the written word in a novel, where you, as a writer, put a vision on the page into this very limited alphabet, 26 letters and a couple of punctuation points, and somebody decodes that, and they could be decoding it down the street or they could be decoding it 150 years later. And from that code comes this whole world, and with it, the person who created that world initially. The traces of the person who created the book are all over the place. It's there in the tone, it's there in the particular observation. It's mentioning things that hadn't been mentioned before that you recognize as true. You recognize, I've experienced this myself. And that creates this amazing sense of communality, if that's a word, between the writer and the reader. It's a joint thing. Everything is happening through this medium of ink on a page, and yet you don't feel alone. You feel like somebody has been there experiencing the world the way I have.
Novelist has more and more to say to readers who have less and less time to read, where to find the energy to engage a culture in crisis when the crisis consists in the impossibility of engaging with the culture.
Those were kind of transitional worries of mine when I actually thought it was important to engage with the culture. When I was still burdened with a vestigial notion that writing should be socially useful. It should be perhaps a critique of the society we live in, some beneficial effect. And of course, you can't have a beneficial effect on the culture if you're not engaging with it.
Like the writing should be socially useful.
Nah, I gave that up. I try to be helpful to someone or something when I go to nonfiction, particularly my journalism. But the novel, no, I jettisoned all notion of social responsibility. I was liberated.
And you said, the ambition to dwell in the complicated middle has been shown to be unprofitable.
It is a luxury to engage with things in a complicated way. Simplicity is comforting.
I want to talk to you about motivation. You mentioned, about half an hour ago, Kafka never published this book. He died. Well, the question I have around that is just around motivation. Like, can you relate to this desire to have written something and wanting it burned, first of all?
I can imagine Kafka feeling, I didn't finish that book. I had some great stuff. I didn't quite know what to do with it. So he was capable, when he knew he had fully realized the project of publishing it. And I think he felt that none of the novels was he able to get back to and make what he wanted of them. Um, I think his motivations will forever remain shrouded in mystery. My motivation, it's changed. I wanted to show what I could do, and I wanted to show my parents that I could actually make a living as a writer. I also wanted to change the course of American literature. I wanted to change the world. I wanted to be socially effective and so forth, coupled with competition. I had a really good friend, David Wallace, who was also very talented, and I wanted to beat him. I wanted to crush my opponents in the field of literature. All of those motivations have fallen away. Now I just do it for the money. Haha. Well, 90% haha. Honestly, do it now because people are looking for a good book to read. And I feel like I'm part of a community of readers and writers. And I would say that's my motivation now. I'll mention this, the most important thing, but it's not necessarily a motivation. Motivation having to do with exterior forces. I want to write a novel because I'm happy when I'm writing a novel.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a motivation? It's like I'm alive when I'm writing a novel, and part of me is just not really alive when I'm not.